If you are buying a new EC at 35 years old today, by the time you can fully sell it under the new rule, you could be already 50 years old. And that one change alone may completely change how HDB upgraders plan their next move. And personally, I don't think these changes only affect EC buyers. I think this may also affect upgraders' behavior, resale demand, and even parts of the private market moving forward. So today, I'm not just going to go through the policy changes. I want to talk more about what I think is actually going to happen next, including one thing that most people are not talking about it yet. So let's get into it. So our government has made 4 changes. The MOP doubled from 5 to 10 years, and the first timers actually get much stronger priority, and the deferred payment scheme is now gone. I'll explain each one as we go, but the part that I really want to get into today is what this actually means for you. So let's get started with the MOP because I think people are underestimating what this looks like in real life. So let's say today you are 35 and you are buying a new EC. The construction will take about 3 to 4 years, and by the time it TOP, you are already around 38 or 39 years old when you can move in. And then you still have to fulfill a 10 years MOP, and by the time you can fully sell, you are close to 50 years old. I have spoken to quite a few clients around that age, and honestly, I think most of them at 48 or 49 years old are not thinking about buying another property. They are thinking about their kids going to university, parents getting older, or even starting to think about their own retirement. So most of them just don't want to take on another bigger loan at that stage of their life. But if you are buying when you are in your late 20s or early 30s, and that's a little bit different because you'll be in your 40s, maybe early 40s by the time you fulfill your 10 years MOP, you are still earning, you are still comfortable, and the situation is not the same. But here's the question that you need to ask yourself. Are you buying this EC because it genuinely fits your life for the next 10 to 15 years? Or are you actually buying it mainly because you're expecting a very good return at the end? Because if it's the second reason, then it's a lot harder to justify now. So before I talk about the deferred payment scheme, let me quickly explain to you why the government did all this, because it didn't come out of nowhere. EC prices has gone up a lot over the past few years, more than doubled compared to about 10 years ago. And at the same time, first-time buyers, the people that ECs were designed for, actually went down from 50% to about 30 to 40% in the recent years. So what happens? The second timer came in with a stronger budget from selling their first home. They cleared the units fast on launch day, and developer got more confident. Land bids went up, launch prices follow, and the whole cycle just keep going on. So over the years, EC starts to feel a little bit more unaffordable for the first-time families, and it starts to be something that people actually buy in hoping to profit later. And the government message here is pretty clear. They want the EC to go back to where they were originally meant to be, a genuine stepping stone for the first-time families, and not something that people buy mainly for the upside or the profits. So now the DPS change, and this one I think is the one that you need to think through more carefully. So this is how it used to work. So before, you will actually pay 20% upfront, your cash, CPF, and your stamp duty, and the rest of the loan only kicks in later when your EC reaches TOP. So you have about 3 to 4 years where you were not fully committed yet financially, but this is now gone, and we only have the normal payment scheme right now. And under this normal payment scheme, you start paying progressively as the construction hits each stage, same as your private condo. So this is how it actually looks like. If you are a HDB upgrader, which most EC buyers are, you are now paying 2 mortgages at the same time. Your existing HDB loan, because you still need a place to stay while you're waiting for your EC to be built, and also your new EC progressive payments starting from the construction period. And that's potentially 3 to 4 years of paying 2 mortgages at the same time. And it's not that it's not possible, but it just means that you need to be more clear about your cash flow. And that buffer of 3 to 4 years that you used to have is not there anymore. And I think this is where a lot of people will start asking. So yes, I can probably afford to buy it, but can I comfortably pay 2 mortgages at the same time for the next few years? So the government is also giving first-timers much stronger priority access now. If you have been following the recent launches like Revel, you will know that almost 93% was sold on launch day. And this move isn't very surprising. And once the 1 month period is over, the second timer actually came in fast and cleared all the balance unit. So the second timer usually have a bigger budget from selling their first home, and developer will notice this. Price went up, first timer got squeezed out, and now the second timer quota has also cut from 30% to 10%. And the priority window has also been pushed from 1 month to 2 years. And here's something that I've been thinking about that I don't think many people are talking about it yet. And this is one directly affects whether EC stays affordable for you in the future. So I think all this might actually be setting up for an EC income ceiling increase later on. So right now, a lot of families are actually find the bigger EC units, especially the 4-bedroom, very hard to afford comfortably even with the current income ceiling. You will need a lot of upfront cash. So my thinking is maybe the government is first trying to cool the EC demand and stabilize the price. And once that happens, it then open up for the higher income families to qualify. And because if they have raised the income ceiling right now without doing all of this first, the developer will just price it even higher, and this will make things worse and not better. I mean, I could be wrong, but if you are someone who is just slightly above the current income ceiling and has always felt locked out of buying a new EC, this could actually be something that you can look out for. Okay, so this is the part that I actually want to talk about, is when you cut off the HDB upgraders from buying new EC, they don't just disappear. They will go somewhere else, and that movement affects other parts of the market. So where do I think they will go? Firstly, I think they'll go to the OCR resale condo, because buyers who are looking at ECs now don't want a 10 years holding period, or they don't want to be paying 2 mortgages at the same time. And some of them will start looking at the resale condos instead. No MOP, more flexibility, and depending on the project, you are not always paying that much more. And this segment could see more demands coming in. And second, it's the private new launch. So some people who are looking at EC previously are not just looking for a home, but because it made financial sense. Relatively short hold, strong potential upside, and you can actually exit after staying for 5 years. And that's not really the case anymore. And if that was part of why you were considering an EC, it's probably worth asking whether private actually makes more sense for you now. And private condos, yes, they are more expensive. We are talking about maybe about 400 to 600 PSF more depending on the project and the location. But what you are paying extra for is the flexibility, no MOP, and you can sell after 4 years when your SSD is up, and you're not locked in for 10 years. And some buyers, because that extra freedom is worth more than the price difference. And thirdly, it's the existing EC stock. Is where your last chance window is. So there are currently almost 2,000 EC units that are already in the pipeline that are not affected by the new rule. And for second timers who are now getting squeezed out of the new launches, this becomes your last window to buy under the old framework. So actually, I expect this year and next year's EC launches to see very strong demand, especially from second timers who don't want to miss this window. And lastly, will be the developers. So they can no longer count on second timers rushing in on the first month to clear the balance unit. And that changes how they price, how they bid for land, and the size that they build. I don't think EC price will suddenly drop, but because construction costs are still very high today. But the era of 90% sold on launch day is probably over for new EC moving forward. And that actually matters for you as a buyer, because it means that the EC launches may not have the first day pressure to decide fast. So if you are looking at any of the EC launches upcoming this year or next year, you are actually not affected by this new change. And these projects are actually under the old rule. But don't FOMO into it without a clear plan. Ask yourself honestly, are you buying this because it fits your life, or because you're hoping for a good profit at the end? Because the answer to that question should decide whether EC is still the right move for you. And there are also a few more new launches that are coming out at the second half of this year. And if you want my full breakdown on what are the upcoming launches, how the pricing looks like, and whether it actually makes sense for you to buy, do subscribe so you don't miss when it drops. See you in the next one.